Caitriona, thank you so much for being here today. I am really, really excited to have you here. We are going to have, I think, an amazing, amazing conversation. We've just been chatting before I hit record what we're going to be talking about. Cyber attacks, cyber security in the online business world. This is going to be amazing. But before we dive into all of that goodness, I'm going to hand over to you. Please tell me who you are, what it is that you do, and all of that goodness.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on your podcast. I love getting asked to be a guest. But yeah, I've been, I suppose, in the IT industry for 20 years. And as you can probably tell from the accent, I originally come from Northern Ireland, but I'm now living in Perth, Western Australia for the last 11 years. But I suppose the last 20 years, a majority of my career was spent helping small businesses design IT solutions. So, what you need to operate as a small business owner. That's what I did back in Ireland and the UK. I spent a couple of years in Liverpool before I moved to Australia. And then when I came to Perth, I done the same thing here. And about 5 years ago, I noticed a massive, growing risk to small businesses getting hacked and having quite devastating impacts on small businesses in particular. So I went back to university and studied a master's in cybersecurity because I really wanted to understand why hackers are doing this, how they were doing it, everything about it. And the more and more I deep dived into it, the more I realized how huge a problem this is. So the last, I suppose, few years, I've been spent doing a variety of different things. I run what we call cyber awareness programs for corporates. So they're basically 12-month programs that help change the security culture within a corporate. So helping people, I suppose, use computers a little bit more safely. And then my absolute passion side of my business is helping small business owners protect themselves. So online business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, helping them protect mostly their business, that is their passion business, their dreams, everything that they have put into, helping protect those from the nasty cyber criminal.
I love that. And I love how you're so passionate. I can see, I know that we're not recording the video for this, but I can see in your face, you're just so passionate about what you do. And I absolutely love that. So I'm going to launch in and ask you my first question, which I think is quite a big question, is what is cybersecurity and why, as small business owners in the online space, why should we be bothered about it? Because we're already so, bothered by terms and conditions, GDPR, I don't know, you name it, it's on everyone's minds. But what is cybersecurity and why should we be so concerned with it?
Yeah, it's a really great question because I think a lot of people, especially small business owners, when they hear the phrase cybersecurity, for some reason they associate it with larger businesses. They don't think cybersecurity is something that a small business needs to be concerned about. But cybersecurity is basically securing your online and your digital world. And it can be in your personal life, it can be in your business life, it can be in your family life. We all use technology. There's a prediction that by 2025, each individual in the world will own up to 10 devices that are connected to the internet. Every
Wow.
single one of those devices gives a cyber criminal or a hacker access to your online life. So most of us spend a lot of time, whether it's in our business life, our professional life, our personal life, online. Our lives, especially because of the pandemic, we've become more and more reliant on the internet. So this just brings a level of risk. I always think and say, if you were to say start up a business in the middle of a city, say like a jewelry store, the first thing you would be thinking about is, how do I secure that physical premise? Do I need CCTV? Do I need to get security guards? Do I need to get secure rollers? What is it I need to do to make that premise safe? And your business in the online sense needs the same thing. There's certain things that you need to put in place to keep it safe. I always say cybercrime is like that invisible risk that people don't see, because we don't know when a hacker's at the doors of our online business. We can see them in a physical sense if they were coming to rob our business or our home, but we can't see it from the online world. So cybercrime and cybersecurity is basically protecting all those digital aspects of your life and your business.
Wow, that is a lot of food for thought, because it's 9:30 in the morning at my time recording. It's a lot of food for thought at 9:30 in the morning. So you mentioned in there that there are some things that everyone can do to help protect their business right from the beginning. What kind of things would you suggest people should either start thinking about if they're right at the beginning of their business journey, or if somebody is listening to this and thinking, oh, didn't quite give cybersecurity as much of a thought until I started listening to this episode. What can those people do either today or this week to start making their business a bit more secure?
Yeah, and it really is doing what we consider the basics. So when you're choosing an email provider, making sure that the email mailbox, you can do things like having multi-factor authentication. So you have your password to get into your mailbox, but you have a second way of authorizing that it's you. That really is key. So many businesses set up, even if you go with a Gmail or a Google Mail or Hotmail, you need to make sure that you can have that second way of authenticating that it's you, so hackers can't get into your mailbox. Think about the amount of information that is about you and your business in your emails, and even about your personal life. Your emails really are the gateway to your online world. They allow you to reset your passwords for your bank accounts, get into your clients' databases, all the different things. So you really need to secure your emails straight away. Multi-factor authentication, wherever you can put it. Social media accounts in particular. A lot of online businesses now grew through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these social media platforms. Securing those platforms by having a strong password and having the multi-factor authentication set up. I'm seeing a huge rise, especially this year in particular, in the last 12 months, of people having their Facebook accounts and Instagram accounts hacked and losing their accounts, and it's extremely difficult to get it back. So the other thing as well is putting in what we call a password manager. So a password manager helps you manage your passwords, but it also lets you auto generate your passwords. So hackers know how us humans tend to generate our passwords because we're creatures of habit. So if we generate them ourselves, we normally make them so that we're easy to remember. We might use a word or a name or our favorite food or our pet's name or something that's close to us. And therefore then the hackers know those types of things that we do, and then therefore they're easier hacked. So put in a password manager where you've only one password to remember, and it remembers and creates the rest of them. Those two things alone will save your business 9 times out of 10. Then the third thing I would say is being able to identify when you're being scammed, because a lot of it's scamming. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you think of hackers and hacking into your business, but a lot of it is trying to get you to maybe pay a fake invoice or buy a fake product online, or trying to scam you out of your money. So being able to identify, that's something suspicious about that. Maybe I shouldn't click on that. Learning the type of tactics that they're using to scam and hack businesses as well.
I think that's really, really important. I think all those points are really massively important, but I love that one that you made about how people do go about hacking businesses, because I think I'm not alone in the sense that when I think of a hacker, I kind of think of somebody in a black hoodie. No idea why the hoodie has to be black, but in a black hoodie, hood up, hunched over a computer screen, I don't know, living in their mum's basement, the lights all out. I don't know, something crazy and stereotypical, maybe like a green light in the corner, something weird. But actually, like you said, I'm guessing there's probably only one hacker maybe in the world that fits that weird stereotype that I've got in my mind, because you're right. It's like I go onto Instagram and the amount of messages I get weekly of, do you want this product for free? Just click on this link, or just send us $25 and we'll feature you in this magazine or whatever. We'll feature your business. And at the beginning, I can understand why some business owners might not see that as scamming, because it can, oh gosh, so and so's reached out to me, but actually who is that person behind that account, as you said? And I know that every so often people see these things going around on Facebook, and it's like, answer these 10 questions about you, things like, where were you born, where did you grow up, what was your first pet's name, and what's your child called? And you start reading them and you're like, those are literally the questions that they ask me to get into my banking details and stuff. And you start to realize that actually it's quite easy to try and get information out of people in some ways. And
that's exactly right. And the stereotypical hacker with the black hoodie, that has come from the movies. That's what we've seen in the movies when we watch any kind of hacking movie. That's the stereotypical. And as an industry, we're trying to move away from that, because it could be your next door neighbor's kid. It could be the lady sitting in the coffee shop that looks like a professional. You wouldn't believe, when you start to study, who these cyber criminals are and the hackers are, that they are people in your community, people that live around you. A lot of them do come from third world countries as well. So, and a lot of them also are from very organized criminal gangs. In some countries, cybercrime is, they're run like a business. So they'll have a marketing team, they'll have an admin team, they'll have a research team to go and research about you. So in some countries, it's a really lucrative business and it's run like a lucrative business. So they will be doing what you call web scraping. So the example that you give about social media and oversharing, that's exactly what some of these criminals do all day long, is scrape your social media accounts to see what information they can gather about you, to then try and scam you or hack you or trying to get into your accounts through your passwords. That's a really common thing that we see. One that we see, it's happened actually to a customer of mine here in Australia, where one of her team members, it was in one of her admin team, had went to a networking event. And as we do now, when we go to networking events, we take loads of wonderful pictures and then we do a post on LinkedIn to say, yeah, we've been at this awesome event. And 2 days later, they got an email saying, thank you for attending our event. We would love if you could give us some feedback. Please click this link to complete this survey. And of course, it wasn't the event organizers, it was a cyber criminal. And when they clicked on the link, it downloaded malicious software onto her computer and then spread to all the computers in the business and left them down, those 10 computers in the office, and the whole 10 computers were down for 5 days, for a week. But something like that is so innocent that you wouldn't even think about because it looked legit. But that's the type of tactics that they use. And small businesses, are regarded in the cybercrime world as the low-hanging fruit because they're easy targets, and it doesn't take as much resources to maybe get into a small business as it might to a larger organization. So that's why they target them as well.
That makes so much sense. I've worked for both government and in the private sector as well for a large company. And you're right, we talk about when people are onboarded, this is the password management software that we use. And when you're sending emails, if they fall in this category, you have to send them through this system so that it's all encrypted and all this kind of thing. Whereas when I talk to people in the small business sector, we don't think about those things necessarily. And I get why, because, we've got, I don't know, I'm just going to pull some ideas for subscriptions off the top of my head, but I've got my web hosting, my Canva, I'm trying to think what else I pay for now, my QuickBooks, you get my point, all these different things that we pay for. And when you set up your business, you're not necessarily thinking, oh, what is the internet security that I've got? Is the stuff that comes with my computer, my laptop, etc. enough? Or do I need to be investing in something else? And yeah, I can completely understand why small businesses are kind of in some ways more hackable than the bigger businesses. And what you just said about a company's having their computer system down for 5 days, I can just think how there are some small businesses, because when I'm thinking small businesses, I'm thinking like myself, just me, myself and I, one person. And to have essentially your lifeline for your business taken out for a week, that's insane. I can't even imagine that at all.
If you lose your social media account, some businesses have spent years building up their social media presence, and it's their primary source of marketing and communicating with their customers. And to lose that overnight, it takes a long time to start building it back up again. I helped a lady last year who had built up her following to 55,000 followers on Instagram, and she sold products online. And she lost her account to a hacker, couldn't get it back. And basically she was from the UK and she was making over 600 thousand sterling every year in her business, which is pretty lucrative. She was doing pretty well in her business. And
Definitely.
I know it had taken her 5 years to build it up, but she got there, and overnight everything had gone. Her customer, her following, everything was gone. So I also say, and it's a sort of a lot of people in marketing will say that as well. Try and get your followers and get your customers and your clients into your email list, because your social media accounts, they may not be there tomorrow. And I think we rely, especially as small business owners, and especially in that startup phase, we don't think that they may not be there tomorrow. We think that they're always going to be there. But as you say as well, like starting off a small business, there's so many options available to you now. There's so many different types of software subscriptions, and hosting and Canva, and as you say, all the different, like I think about it myself, the amount of subscriptions. You might have a scheduling app for your social media posts. You might have an online CRM, or somewhere that you have a database. Then you have where your accounting is. So making sure that you do your research on those products as well, to make sure that they're reputable and that they're a secure product, and making sure things like, if you're using like an online platform to store customer data, making sure that you can do things like the multi-factor authentication, and that it's saved in a safe place. Because the amount of people that I do a security review for, small businesses that have all their clients' data on this website, and there's no security around it. And then, if you're working with maybe high profile business or brand, and they get hacked because of you, that could be massive damage to your reputation as well.
100%. It can be costly as well. We were talking. We did an episode a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about data protection,
Yeah.
GDPR, and all the rest of it. And being from the UK, GDPR, what a May 2018. Oh, what a month to be alive when GDPR came in. But anyway, but yeah, absolutely. If you get hacked, you've not just got the reputational damage, as you said. It's all of you could potentially be facing fines and all sorts. And like you said, it's realizing the responsibility you've got when you're collecting other people's data, essentially, and other people's information.
Yeah, we're seeing that at the moment in Australia. We're seeing the other side of it. So, I know that GDPR has very strict, things in place that protects people's information. And we're seeing the other side now in Australia, where we don't have that. And one of the largest telcos have just had a major data breach. So 10 million people's data in Australia has been hacked. And it's a huge uproar. People have to now go and change driving license numbers, passports, their healthcare number. And, we don't have the same privacy and data protection that you have in Europe. So there's a lot of talk and a lot of discussion right now in Australia about, well, we need to have that, because now a lot of people are concerned that their identity could be stolen, that these cyber criminals could, create credit in their name, all these different things that you can do. In Australia, we have a thing where most of the credit or anything that you need to get, you need to have 100 points of ID. And unfortunately, this data breach has released for 10 million people the 100 points of ID that's required. So it's huge on the other side of it. But, when you are taking people's personal information, it's really important that you know that you're going to be able to protect that.
Absolutely. Gosh, 10 million people. That's
it's like insane. 1 in 2. When you take the children out of it and kids out of it, they reckon it's 1 in 2 adults in Australia at the moment are impacted by it.
Wow, that is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And there is somebody sitting at the top of that company right now, probably crying.
Yeah, because it was a particularly easy breach as well. It wasn't something very sophisticated. So, and Uber is another company that has recently had a data breach. And again, where the hacker was able to what we call socially engineer. So the hacker manipulated somebody from the IT team to give this hacker's laptop access to the network of Uber. So hackers know, and this is the other thing, they know how to hack people. And this is what I talk about a lot, is that we need to learn, as everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you own a business or not, We need to learn how to identify if we're trying to be scammed, or the tactics that these hackers and cyber criminals will use to try and hack us.
I think that's really interesting, because I know over here I'm thinking of, there was a kid a while ago. I want to say they were only like 16, 17. They got
Yes,
arrested because they
yes,
did really well in hacking the CIA network,
yep,
which is impressive, I
yep,
have to say. But I think sometimes, kind of piecing that all together, we all kind of think sometimes that cyber attacks are these really complex lines and lines of code, which probably goes back to what you were saying earlier about this Hollywood kind of impression. But as you said, I really want to pick up on what you said there about how often it's this simple tactics
yep.
that people use to hack small business information. So I guess then that leads me on to wondering, are there kind of like more common tactics that we see?
Yeah.
Have you got any idea, information about the simple tactics that people tend to use to hack that you could share with us?
Yeah, so the social media ones at the moment that we're seeing, especially on Instagram, is where they might hack, say, my account, and then they reach out to my followers, and somebody maybe that I have spoken to in the past, and this actually did happen. They didn't hack my account. They hacked this lady in Canada who I'd been speaking to. She was an author and she was ready to release a book. And I had been speaking to her on and off. She wanted me to do a little piece of work, and then she went quiet. Out of the blue, I got a message, a DM from her saying, "Hey, Caitriona, I haven't spoke to you in ages. I am going to be verified on Instagram, but I need you to vote for me. I'm going to send you a text message. I need you to screenshot that text message and send it back to me." Now, I had known about this scam, but basically, when you screenshot the text message and you send it back, that text message, the number that the text message comes from, allows them to reset your password on Instagram, and it allows them to bypass the multi-factor authentication as well. So that's
Wow.
one of the tactics that, and like if you get it from we've seen people, maybe it's like a friend saying, "Oh, I've lost my phone and I'm trying to reset up my Instagram account again. I need somebody to verify that it's me. Can you screenshot this text message and send it on?" So that's one that we're seeing a lot on Instagram at the moment. Another one that small businesses and are especially in Australia, and it's happening all over the world as well, is what we call business email compromise. So they'll send an email pretending to be from like Office 365 or from Gmail, and saying that you need to reset the password to your mailbox because it's been
Oh, I get a
compromised.
lot of those.
You click the link to reset the password, but it's obviously a fake website. You put in your new password and your old password, and it doesn't work. And then you just forget about it and go on about your business. But you've just given the hacker your password to your mailbox. They log in, and then they'll sit there monitoring your mailbox. And then if you are somebody that sends out invoices, they will wait till you're sending an invoice, and they'll stop that invoice, change the bank account details on the invoice, and then send it on, and the person at the other end knows no different. So that's one that we're seeing a lot at the moment. So if you're a small business and it's the first time that you are, doing a payment to a new bank account, you really need to pick the phone up and verify that bank account. Or if you're somebody that can't verify, well, a lot of businesses now are doing saying, okay, and PayPal actually do this. If you're new to PayPal, they will say, we will take two small transactions out of your bank account to verify that this is the correct bank account. So verifying before you maybe transfer a large amount of money. We're seeing that especially for real estate. Obviously there'll be large sums of money that transfers when people's buying homes and things like that. Or things like trust accounts is another one that they're taking a lot of money out of as well by the same type of tactic. So being careful with those password resets. If you get something like that, then knowing that maybe you're being targeted right now, and to reset your password and set up the multi-factor authentication on your mailbox. But also then if you are paying invoices, always verify that the bank account is legit and it's the right bank account.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's so important. It's amazing when you start thinking about it, or speaking to somebody like you who's seeing that side, the lengths that people will go to get the information and the money
Yeah.
from you. It's crazy, because there are ways that somebody like me wouldn't even think of
Yeah.
personally.
Well,
Clearly. Well, I was going to say I'm clearly in the wrong industry, but clearly I'm in the right industry, because if I don't have the ideas to be a hacker, then that's a good thing I'm not a hacker.
Yeah, well, we're also, my prediction is, as you know, the whole world is talking about this global recession that we're seeing, and some countries are already seeing the impact of it. And always when there's an economic crisis, cybercrime and crime in general will rise. And now, you know, crime, cybercrime in particular, has, you know, it's the most lucrative crime in the world. Last year it was released that it is overtaken the drug trade, and how much money is lost to cybercrime. So that's what we predict, as people are, you know, pushed into, you know, difficult corners where they financially can't survive. They may turn to cybercrime because it can be a lucrative crime, and you can do it from the comfort of your own home. And if you know what you're doing, it's, you know, it's, you probably can get away with it. Not, you don't often see cyber criminals being arrested, because a lot of them are doing it from other countries, and therefore they're hard to trace. So that's, at the moment, you know, that's what I'm saying to everybody, especially coming up to the festive season, you know, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It is the most busiest time for cybercrime. Shopping online, you know, if you're do any type of shopping online, like I love to shop online, be very cautious. Like last year, some of the stuff that I seen, just silly scams like on eBay, you know, selling like kids' toys and things like that. And it wasn't actually the kids' toys. When you looked at the T's and C's, you were buying the picture of the kid's toy, not the actual toy. You know, so just be careful when you're buying online at this time of year, and use like a payment gateway, maybe such as PayPal or Google or something like that, and that you might have some come back on.
I guess it's having that due diligence, isn't it? And that amuses me what you said about the picture, because I actually know somebody who last year bought a Christmas wreath on eBay, but they didn't buy a Christmas wreath. They bought a badly printed and badly laminated picture of the Christmas wreath, and they were furious. Well, understandably, what are they going to do with this terrible picture? But yes, there was nothing they could do about it, because the writing that they hadn't read, the T's and C's, whatever it was, the description actually said all you're getting is an image. And they literally spent the best part of, I don't know, something like 30-40 quid on a really badly printed out and really badly laminated picture. And it just goes to show, you know, you've got to do that due diligence. Things like, you know, looking at the email addresses that emails are coming from, like you said, and, you know, is it the official website, or have you suddenly been pitched to a business that you've never heard of before? It's absolutely insane. So I'm thinking that there are possibly some listeners who are listening to this podcast episode now and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm either going to go and reset every password that I've got, or I'm just going to shut my business down tomorrow, because this all sounds really insane, which I wouldn't advise that necessarily you do either of the two, unless your password for everything is exactly the same thing. But do you have maybe 2 or 3 actionable tips that people could go away and start implementing in their business, just to make it more secure from a cyber attack point of view?
Yeah. If you're not using a password manager, please bite the bullet and do it. Get a decent one that, you know, is a reputable one, and use it correctly by letting it generate your passwords, because that's definitely one of the big things that we see with every business. Every time I speak to a small business owner and do a security review, most, you know, they're using the same password in multiple places, and so passwords is number one. Multi-factor authentication, wherever you can set it up. You know, if you can set it up, do it, and do it through an authenticator app, and not through SMS or email, because SMS and email both are hackable. And the authenticator app is something that you need to have on you at all times, and it's a little bit more secure because the number changes every 60 seconds. So choose an authenticator app and set it up that way. If you don't know how to do either of the two of those things, go to YouTube. YouTube is your best friend. You will find any amount of videos on YouTube on how to do that. And I suppose the number 3 thing as a small business owner is just back up everything that you can, and test your backups regularly, you know, because you cannot say that you're never going to get hacked. You might, you know, have the most secure system in place. And as we see with a lot of these larger organizations, hackers will find a way in. So making sure that you've got a backup of your data so that your business can keep operating. put limits on your bank accounts, especially your business bank accounts, so that if your card or your bank account number or whatever gets compromised, that they only can do small transactions. So those few things, can start you off on a much secure path, but just take action. I know a lot of people know that they shouldn't be using the same password and they are putting it in the to-do list, and never getting around to it. Just take some time. It doesn't, spend a few hours doing it. And you honestly, every time somebody comes back to me after they've done it, they always say, why was I procrastinating over that for so long? It's not as difficult. But those few things alone will save you. Obviously, things like having antivirus software on your computer is important. And things like your Windows updates. So if you're running a Windows device, and even your phones, making sure that you always have your mobile device and your computer updated, because those updates are fixing security vulnerabilities in the software of the device as well. But basically, slow down, be vigilant, be suspicious. Don't trust everything that comes in on email, and make sure when especially if you're somebody, your business needs to shop online, make sure that the websites and everything is secure where you're shopping. But don't be afraid.
Those are amazing tips. So thank you so much. And I will just actually ask kind of like a question 1.A to that. Gosh, we're going to talk for ages at this rate. I promise this will be my last question. There will be some people who are thinking, well, I've got a password generator, because there's like one that comes pre-installed with iPhone, for example. Yeah. I'm sure there's ones that probably come with other brands, yeah, as software providers as well. Is there a kind of like an opinion in the industry that the ones that come as standard are fine because a lot of people will be using them, or are they maybe, if you can upgrade, that would be great? Or I'd just be curious, because I'm sure that's probably a question that some people have got in their minds.
Yeah, if you're in your personal life, the ones that come with the devices are probably okay. In the business, I would really recommend upgrading to a business grade one. Now, be careful. The likes of, say, Google Chrome, you can save your passwords into your Chrome browser. The problem with that is that they are saved in what we call plain text. So if a hacker gets access to your computer, they can go in and see those passwords saved in plain text. So you're better having an authenticator or a password manager that is encrypted, so that you know that it's encrypted. The one that comes with the Apple devices, as long as you're using it properly, it's encrypted and it's pretty safe. I don't know of one for Android, to be honest, but you've got things. One that I use quite a lot is LastPass. It's a pretty decent product. Keeper is another one. 1Password is another one. In the business, for business accounts, there's a really famous saying in cybersecurity, and I know it's in some other industries as well, but if the product is free, then you're normally the product. So if it's for your business and it's for your client's data, you're probably better paying a small subscription, so you have the peace of mind knowing that your data is secure in that app, whichever one you've decided to go for.